Hello, everyone.
Hi.
On today's episode. Okay. For those of you who aren't familiar, this is Filipino Hustle Fridays. I know that some of you who are good friends of mine, I've been doing multiple series for my channels. And obviously, I'm Julie Holly, owner of Jay's Creative, and I've had multiple shows. But what I love about this is that Elizabeth Ekk, my guest for today, lives in Tallahassee and is an entrepreneur and also woman entrepreneur, mom entrepreneur, and also Filipino. So anyways, all of these things are aligned together, and I'm so glad it worked out for you to be my guest today. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I'm going to give a quick intro, and then of course we're going to dive in about your story. Elizabeth Ekk is owner of Ekk Realty Group, and it is noted for client first, concierge, customer service, and hospitality mentality. Ekk Realty Group is part of an outstanding group of realtors across the nation as an ELP, endorsed local provider. And I jumped ahead in the slide here. Your personal background. She's a native of Canada and a graduate of British Columbia Institute of Technology with a degree in marketing management. And then she moved from Vancouver to Tallahassee in 2002, a child advocate and volunteers with many community nonprofit organizations and a licensed Florida broker, top 1% real estate producer in Tallahassee, Crawfordville, and surrounding counties. So, of course, I jumped ahead and talked about Ekk Realty Group, amazing group, also very successful in real estate. And you do full service real estate group specializing in relocation, selling, buying vacation homes, investments, Airbnb, rental marketing, you name it. Like, you are a pro. So thank you so much for hopping on my little show during your busy schedule.
Of course. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and it was very serendipitous that we bumped into each other at Publix because I've been wanting to interview you for a long time now.
Well, that's so sweet. I appreciate it. I bump into a lot of people at Publix. I love it.
So I would also consider you as like kind of like a local celebrity because you are everywhere. Like, you do great work with marketing. Tell me a little bit about like why you got into real estate, and then we can go backwards and just talk about your story too.
So it was a downturn of the market in 2011. I had 3 children under the age of 4, and the Canadian dollar was doing really well, and we were in dire need of some vacation time. But with 3 kids, it was really difficult to get away, really for a long time because you're in the grind. You're working really hard. And so, truth be told, my father looked at me and said, so I paid for your school. What are you doing with it? And I said, just like a Filipino dad, right? You can hear yourself. And I said, I have 3 children under the age of 4, Dad. This is my time, my season. And he's like, nope, that's not what's going to happen. And so we started looking at properties, and then he said, you need to go and get your real estate license. And I was like, sure. My background was in hospitality sales. I loved working for Fairmont Hotels. But in Tallahassee, obviously, there's only 150 rooms or whatever. I was used to conference space. And so we started looking at beach homes, and they were good investments. So we ended up with 3 that we rented out as our family. We managed them. And then we ended up selling them after owning them about 10 years. But we would go there on the weekends. We would also rent them out. So that kind of got the ball rolling. It was flexible because I could be with my children. And I kind of had a niche in it and found out that I really loved it when I hosted playgroups. And the moms were like, hey, can we get into the house next door? And so half of us would go and look at the house. The other half would take care of the kids. So I could do it kind of both at the same time, and it worked out really wonderful. So kind
Oh
of
my
how,
gosh, I love that story.
yeah.
That is so cool. So it just kind of worked out in multiple ways. And I
Mm-hmm.
had a very similar story for a different industry. Is like I was trying to get back into the work career force after having younger kids too.
Yeah.
But I loved how it's so funny. Most Filipino parents, or I mean, just any parent really, especially among Asians and Filipinos, it's like it's nursing or it's doctor.
Well,
Or,
yeah. Yeah.
so I appreciate your dad pointing you to real estate.
When I went into marketing management, my dad was like, I'm going to be paying for you for the rest of your life, aren't I? And I was like, what? I'm not a lawyer or a doctor or a nurse. Like, no, like you just wait. And so at the age of 21, I showed him my pay stub, and he was like, oh, wow. He was really, really proud. Really. and that was so good.
That's so good. Awesome. And okay, you mentioned your dad. And so in your answers, which I appreciate you brought out, like they moved from the Philippines with $500 you said in one suitcase to Canada.
Yeah, actually, they tried to go because my mom was a nurse and my dad was in electrical engineering, and they tried to go to the United States first. And I think it was in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania, one of the P's. But the United States was like, you're married, you're not allowed in. So my parents were like, okay. So they tried Canada. Canada was like, absolutely, everybody come in. And the more rural you take a job in, the more money you make. So that's how they landed 10 hours north of Vancouver in British Columbia. So that's where I grew up. I grew up in a very small town called Prince George.
Wow. And then so you were there until you like what brought you to Tallahassee? That's the infamous question when everybody
Yeah, I know.
right?
Everybody asked me, like, how did you go from across the country? So I went to school at BCIT, and then after that, I met my husband. At Dennis Ekk. He had started a company with 3D animation, but specifically for engineering, because he's an engineer, which is a very niche market. So he was contacted by a company here in Tallahassee because it's the state capital. And of course, Florida's got a ton of bridges for them to work on a project. And then he said, and this was like maybe within a year of our being married, he said, by the way, I got offered a job in Florida, but we're not moving. And so I said, why not? We're a bunch of immigrants. Your parents moved, like they immigrated, your grandparents immigrated from Germany to Brazil, Brazil to Canada. My parents immigrated from the Philippines to Canada. Like, I don't understand why you won't move. So after a lot of prayer, coming down in August, they brought us down in August to Tallahassee from Canada, how hot that was. We came and took a look, and I was like, I think God is really telling us that we should do this. And so we took a leap of faith, and it's really panned out. We've been here for almost 22 years in October.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. I love that. And it's crazy because and I guess I could speak for myself too, like most women wouldn't want to relocate for their husbands, jobs or whatever, but you were willing, and I appreciate your adventurous, spirit.
Well, a part of it really, I'm going to go deep here. A part of it has to do with my job was so successful, and I really, it says in the Bible that, you need to, let your husband shine as well. And so I wanted him for our marriage. I wanted him to also be the leader. And so we took that leap of faith because I knew that he could do it. And I knew that I needed to step back a little. And in hindsight, this is an even crazier situation. My immigration lawyer screwed up my application, and it was after 9/11. So I couldn't work for 5 years. Hence, I have 3 children all close together, 18 months apart.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So he really took me, and I actually had to go to the Philippines for about a month and a half to kind of reassess, like, God, why are you making me go from a really awesome, um, job, and then making me like I couldn't even get a job at, anywhere, waiting tables or whatever. And so I had to reassess. And when I went to the Philippines, I saw all of my relatives like duct taping their, chinelas, and which is slippers or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to be thankful. I need to be grateful. And so when I came back, it was renewed, and I was like, I'm going to be the best stay-at-home mom ever.
Oh.
It gave me perspective.
Yeah. And I don't know how you do all of this. I mean, I've been kind of seeing your posts on and off, even though we haven't really had coffee like ever. But I have been admiring you, from afar, just seeing how your kids are doing amazing in travel swimming, like competitive swimming, and getting to the point of qualifying to be in Olympic trial level. Like that is just like, oh my goodness. How do you have time for all of that and running your business? And I really think that in return for you giving your husband that chance, to give him the I guess first place in a sense, and then in a sense you've been blessed in many ways, really. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I always swoon over other people as well because I'm like, how do they do it? And I'm happy to know that other people feel that way about me, but it's not perfect. I'm learning all the time. You can ask my daughter. She's the firstborn and a girl, and so I screw up all the time.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I think that the Lord has blessed me only because I am trying to. I think at the end of the day, like he even puts deals together for me. A lot of times, people ask me, how are you doing this?" I'm like, I'm just a tool that he's been using. He uses my skills. I really have no answer for that. When they say, "Oh, well, how do you have three, competitive swimmers?" I'm like, again, like he created them. I am just responsible, and I'm so thankful that he's given them these tools. So I'm hoping that they can glorify the Lord through them. But reality is that they are such great kids on their own. Any mom could step in and they would do really, really well. So I'm just here to water and feed is what I tell everybody, because that's really all I do is water and feed.
I've been so like, and I keep forgetting to share like how, I have these visuals of because I'm just like so engaged with what you're saying too. Just in general, that for those of, if you guys want to refer to like, this is her beautiful family. I have your website as well. So in case anyone is wondering, go check out Ekk Realty Group. But yeah, so back to what you were saying about, how you just water and feed and just do. I love how humble you are being, but you've had a lot of success too. And you're open and transparent of some of the things that you've been able to accomplish with everything related to Ekk Realty Group. So if you don't mind, because we talked about it, like,
Yeah.
what, how long have you been running your business? And now it's gotten to the point from like the 3 homes when you were saying, and then being able to raise your kids throughout the process. And now, as of 2023, you have some numbers you're willing to share?
So I started in 2011. My first year, I ended up selling, including the 3 beach houses, I ended up selling 15 homes doing part-time. And this was in the downturn of the market. So I was like, this is so much fun, not because I'm selling the homes, but because I was helping other people. So that turned into, so as a broker, you have to work under another brokerage for 2 years. and getting your experience, and then you can go and do your broker's license. You have to go through a state exam and a whole bunch of studying. So did that, opened a brokerage, and then ended up opening Ekk Realty Group in 2018. Prior to that, it was another brokerage. And then I've been on my own, thankfully, after COVID shut down that office, but just allowed it to come from my house, which has helped with a whole balance and everything. So it's been 2024. You're going to make me do math. So 4 and
13 years? You
Yeah.
started in 2011, so 13 years.
Yeah, 13 years. So 13 years, and I don't see myself slowing down in any capacity. I mean, I've got 3 children. I've got to water and feed them. My husband is very successful, but you see all of our travel because of swimming and that, and that's someone's got to pay for it. So
that adds up.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, especially when you have to feed all those children. So it's a lot. Like, you don't want to know how much my 2 sons eat in the morning. It's kind of gross. So when they say that you're $1 million producer, that doesn't mean that you make $1 million. It just means that you sold about $1 million. So I have been, since probably 2016, a top 1% producer. So that means that my average is around 23 to 30 million in a year that I sell. Yeah, thank you. And I mean, it fluctuates obviously, but that's generally, and then my average sale is generally around anywhere between 450 and above. So the average price for a home in Tallahassee is about 230,000.
Yeah.
So, and then I've got some stats. Do you want me to go over like how the market is doing? Because I know.
Yes, that was my next question.
Okay. So, overall, I think that we're doing okay. We just have a lot less inventory in the market right now, and mainly because everyone who bought at 2.75 and 3.5% is hanging on to their home. So total current homes have actually decreased from January through to the month of July. There's 265 less homes for sale. But on average, if you actually take a look at the market, 9% increase year over year is on average, especially in the northeast of Tallahassee. It can dip down to, in Wakulla, I think it's like 15%. And then I think like in the northwest side, it's 8%. So depending on where you live, you are still seeing year after year an increase in the price of how much you can get your house year after year. So,
oh wow,
yeah, which is good, which is great. We just have less homes. So, the interest rates actually, everybody says, oh, they're so high. Actually, they've come down. The other day, I got an FHA with a 760 credit score. 6.625% for a buyer, which is not at 7.5.
Right.
So people are coming back onto the market, so it's actually going really well.
Yeah, I have some friends, obviously there's probably different factors in play, realtor, depending on how the realtor is out there, like hustling.
Yeah.
And then like what you said, the market and everything like that. And you have a really cool website. So these are the latest and greatest. That's all tied to. Yeah.
So definitely key on the one that is if you go back, the Pebble Beach one, 9699 Pebble Beach. It is a beautiful golden eagle home. It is so nice.
This one right here.
Yep. it is 1 story, 4 bedrooms, 3 bath. Like it is a beautiful home. It's a corner lot as well. And then another home that's really nice is the one that's on 6565 Veldaderi. She has fenced in the property. It's on 1.22 acres. It is like walking distance to Target and Publix. It's not in a neighborhood, so no HOA. Very mod features of the home. It's also a smart home. And it's all 1 story, so it's really pretty. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I like Veldaderi. I have a friend who lives along that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Very beautiful neighborhood.
Yeah, A-rated schools. Yeah, A-rated schools. It's so nice. And they have the quietness of it. It's off of Veldaderi Road, so it's not like Thomasville Road. But because there's a privacy fence and a private gate, you don't see any of that. So.
Oh yeah, it's definitely, that's what I liked about it. It feels very private. So cool. Okay. So like, I love this. And so it sounds like you still want to continue to hustle and grow your business and everything. So
yeah, I had to make a choice. There's 2 ways that you really are successful in real estate here in Tallahassee. One is you go big and you are like a university and you have a ton of agents that you are going to completely, educate all the time. The other is where it's a little bit smaller and you have a group of people that work really hard and that there isn't that much overhead. So I've done the big, let's grow super fast. And I cut out property management because it was really, really time consuming. And then I've gone smaller. Instead of I love marketing. I love it that you can do it in so many different platforms. But instead of doing a ton of marketing, like in print or billboards, I would rather give to the local communities. So that's a lot of that. What we do is we work with a lot of the schools. We work with a lot of families. People will come and ask me for sponsorships all the time. I'd rather do that because then I get to know the one-on-one. So.
Yeah. And I feel like for Tallahassee in general too, like that really works, getting involved with the community, being out there for the events and supporting nonprofits. It's like, that is the heart of Tallahassee. And it's like what you said, when there's so much like you can do for marketing, it can be very expensive. And it's just like some of it like amounts to nothing.
Yeah.
So really, I just, I believe in what you're doing. And by the way, there was a friend who stopped by. They gave you a little shout out.
Hi, Tatiana. How's it going? Thank you for being such a sweet friend.
Sometimes I see them a little bit later, but yeah, I know a few people are watching, so thank you very much. Okay, I was going to ask you too, like, I know there's a couple real estate questions that I had, and then a couple related to just running your business. There's a difference between being a realtor and a brokerage, and just, following with what you were just saying, you were going for the big, and then I think it's smart that you went small and it's quality, it's focused on quality.
So realtors have to have 2 years of experience in real estate, and then they can go and study for the broker's course, and then they have to pass that, and then they've got a state exam. I want to say it's like, maybe it's 63 hours or more. But then you have to renew and you've got continuing education. So it's a good thing because a broker is the one who gets all of the responsibility. So if an agent does something incorrectly or doesn't disclose something, then the broker is responsible for that agent. Whereas if you're a realtor, then you're not going to be all that responsible. You'll have some things that you've got to do with, but the brokerage is the one that it falls on. So that's the main difference. Some brokers are working brokers like me. Other people, are just there to help manage all the people that they have under.
That sounds like so much, but
It's a lot of responsibility. That's why we have, insurance and errors and emissions. And most people are like, oh, well, realtors are, you know, um, just salespeople. And I'm like, well, they have to do education and they have a lot of responsibility for a purchase that is one of the most expensive purchases in someone's life sometimes. So,
and the most complex. There's like so many things about it. It's not the easy. Like I said, my husband has suggested that I should get into real estate. I was like, no. It's not for everyone. It's just, to me, it's not the easiest. Like, even though, it's been tremendous for you and you're kicking butt.
It looks, I mean, my youngest son, right? I said, okay, son, what do you think that you want to study? He's like, Mom, I think I want to get into real estate. I said, okay, what does that look like? He's like, well, I'm going to drive around in a nice car and I'm going to meet people. And I'm like, okay. You see, when I'm like stressed out, everyone else is having fun, and I've got to go through negotiations with, a very stubborn seller or a very adamant buyer, and it's like has brought me to tears a couple times. He's like, "Yeah, but Mom, it looks easy," and I was like, "I love you. I'm so happy."
No, and that's the thing. And I wanted to bring that up. Like, it's very competitive. I feel like every day or every week somebody announces, "Oh, I'm a realtor now." And then, so when you claim, you get the title of top 1%, that is serious. Like, that is the big deal, because most realtors are not performing.
Well, so I don't know if I shared this with you earlier, but there is about 13 or 1400 realtors in Tallahassee. And so if you can claim that you are in the top 1%, that means that you're like in the top 20 producing.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's only, the last time I saw the stats, I haven't looked at it, but this is just off the cuff, but I want to say that there is actually like 200 or 250 realtors that are producing something. So they've had a sale and they're making money, like they're making $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
In income.
Yeah. That is so, like, that's why top 1%. I mean, I'm just saying.
I appreciate it.
So awesome. And so like, you also do properties outside of Florida? Like, do you have to?
Yeah, so you have to you have to have a license, but I actually just recently, my husband and I purchased a condo in Auburn. I also used a realtor up there because I wanted to ensure that the Alabama laws are a little different to how they do things over there. But yeah, it's a 4-bedroom, 4-bath, and it's an Airbnb. I can send you the link, but it's super cute. And it's like 5 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested in, making money through Airbnb, I have over 25 customers who have recently done Airbnbs here in Tallahassee, and they are killing it. So.
Serious. Okay. I love that you're like a proponent of it too, because I have a friend who actually she also does, like, there's a thing called co-hosting, where she does the service for somebody who owns. Anyways, there's.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't even have to own the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So do you connect people?
I do. So I usually I usually will represent the buyer who wants to go ahead and purchase the investment, and then I bring in an investor who wants to do short-term rentals in subdivisions that allow short-term rentals. So I connect them. It's really amazing. I
love it.
Yeah, it's been such a good experience.
So with the laws, everything related to just Airbnb in general and stuff, and the complications of insurance costs going up and everything. So like, what would you say for anyone who's considering to open up a new Airbnb or maybe who's never done it before?
Mm-hmm.
I know with the real estate market, it's kind of complicated, but it's starting to get better. I've been wanting to, and I feel like we're late in the game, but I have been trying to convince families to invest in a beach home or something like that. Like, have you ever worked with multiple parties to do a group investment?
Oh yeah, all the time. I work with 3 different groups where there's 4 of them in separate areas of the world. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I would say that in order for you to get into Airbnb, you kind of have to be a little tech savvy, and you can do it at different levels. I've got one person who likes to do all the design, and then I've got one that's like completely hands off, and then I've got one that like is I'm just going to do it all. I actually met a woman. Shout out to Maureen. She posted on Facebook group that she was looking for a property, and then I ended up befriending her, telling her and disclosing like, this is how our condo is doing, this is what the potential is, and she's now doing it all on her own, and I've never met her in person. So it's been very, very lucrative, but also satisfying to see all these families that want to do it. So I'd encourage you. I'm happy to step you through the process. But the one thing that I would definitely say is make sure you connect with someone who has successfully done it before, because it could be a real train wreck so fast. Insurance wise, I was going to say Airbnb has got $1 million policy on the property.
Cool.
And they've got insurance as well. And VRBO also does the same thing. So I'm not worried about that. And then insurance costs. I mean, you have to just work out all of those details regarding, like the costs, the raw costs, and making sure that those are covered.
Is it also just because I guess some of the people who are trying to push back is, I guess HOA organizations, maybe,
Yeah.
Right. So do you know, or are you aware of like some beach towns where, what are some properties that are actually right for the picking for Airbnb? Do you have any?
So I would say that a college town is always really good because they've increased the number of out-of-state students. So now you've got other families that don't have a house in order to visit their children, or for them to be able to, come for certain events, graduation, parents' weekend, move-in weekend, football weekends. So now you've got a ton of competition with the hotels and everything. So I would definitely say any college town. Beach towns are good as well, but they've always been doing some type of Airbnb because they've got property management, because they've always been renting out. So you're a little subjected to if it's a popular spot, or if they've got red tide issues, or any kind of hurricane subject weather-wise. But all day long, education doesn't stop. When we go through some kind of recession, everybody goes back and gets education. So I don't think it ever stops. And it's open 24 hours. So
I love that. I think that's one of those things that's kind of under the radar. So thanks for that insight. Yeah, like my friend who has 30 properties on Airbnb.
wow.
And she most of them are in Tallahassee, and she's killing it. I should connect you guys.
Yeah,
she's
sure.
You might even know her. Probably, but she does design, and she's an architect and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, no, I know it's getting close to the end, and I'm like, I want to respect your time, but I also wanted to just make sure everybody sees, your website. We did mention it briefly. You guys got to follow Elizabeth if you have not connected with her. I actually have a friend who's organizing an event. She's Filipino. She's been a nurse for 20 plus years. And she has a med spa here in town. And I told her about you. And she's like, I've never heard of her. I'm like, yeah, I know. You need to go. It's like,
that would be great. I'll go in and introduce myself, and also try out her spa. I love it. That sounds great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And also, like, I'm going to give her a quick shout out for the event, just so that, I mean, obviously, here's your Facebook for anyone who wants to know and see some listings who are, curious about Florida. If for those of you who are watching abroad, I know a bunch of my Filipino family friends are going to be watching this. So really quick to share this side. If you haven't heard already, if you guys follow America's Got Talent, the Filipino performer, okay, I know him by first name, Roland Abante. Did you ever hear about you know about him?
No.
Okay, so he competed in America's Got Talent, and our the local nurse I was telling you about who owns a TriStar, she is having him here to perform live.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You'll have to tell me the event. I would love to go.
Absolutely. If I can just like pull up the screen. So it is going to be August 17th.
Okay.
And most of it, like, it's funny because, there's the tight knit nurse Filipino community.
Yes.
But I'm like, there's a bunch of us who are not.
Yeah. No, for sure. I love it.
So like, yeah, Roland Abante, she's been posting on her socials, but here, her stuff is hosted on her website. So if you want to buy a ticket, you got to go to TriStar Facial.
Okay.
And he's going to perform live. Roland Abante, and he made it all the way. I have to double check, but I believe he made it to the top 3, and I believe he got to the point where he actually was among the finalists. So
that's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, he sounds just like some famous rock stars.
There are so many wonderful Filipinos that have beautiful voices.
I know.
Yeah,
they sound just like the star.
Like they do. I know.
So just wanted to give a shout out to that event, and I'm hoping like some more Filipinos connect that never knew that we all exist here in town, but we're all busy hustling. So is there anything you'd love to include as a conclusion, just to kind of say, and I love your answer, what would you tell your younger self if you were to start a business? I know you said, if you want me to refresh your memory, like entrepreneurship is not for everyone because of all the things that come with it.
Yeah, you've got to wear so many different hats: marketing, accounting, the selling portion of it, managing, sometimes janitorial, picking up other people's underwear. Oh. I mean, it's everything. Yeah, no, for sure. So it doesn't equal a normal definition of freedom, because everybody always says, well, I want to be an entrepreneur because it's going to give me the freedom. But the sacrifice that you put in and the choices that you make, they do belong to you, but you might have to do more of them. So it's definitely not the easier path, but the road that, you take is however much you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So that could be a definition of freedom. But yeah, it's definitely not for everybody.
No, it's really true. I mean, it's funny because when you mentioned how your son wants to be a realtor, it's not as easy as it looks. You are practically starting a brand new business,
And that's part of it. And that's part of why I started the brokerage too, was so that I could help. I knew what it felt like to get back into the workforce after staying at home with my children. And it was very difficult. And I was constantly questioning, my worth, my abilities, my skills, and am I going to be able to get, back into it? And it's like riding a bike. Yeah, you are. And I wanted to show other stay-at-home parents that they could do it too. And that's really the reason why I opened up a brokerage.
Wow, that's so awesome. You were thinking about others really primarily, of course.
Yeah, my door is always open. Sometimes I know that I can be, an advocate, a strong advocate for my buyer or seller. But in the same token, if you actually get to know my heart, I really just want to help people. So that's my go-to. All the other stuff, how it comes, I'm going with the flow. Learn from mistakes, but I definitely, that's my heart anyways.
I love it. And I feel like that pretty much touches the core of like how Filipinos are. Filipino community, in our Filipino community, we just love to help people, and almost to the point of like ultimate sacrifice in many ways, like even our own personal, I can speak for myself, my personal health.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about the Filipino community, and you being Filipino Canadian and American.
Right.
You got that perspective, and I just love that we're both here in Tallahassee. And thank you so much for being on the show and talk about your story.
Oh,
So
thank you.
yeah,
I'll send you a couple of other Filipinos that are across the world that I think you would love, probably more so in sports and stuff. But one of I'll have to send you one of my nieces. She has just overcome some um, issues with her an injury and has come back into playing basketball. And then my other nephew, he actually played on the Filipino volleyball team, but he lives and is born in San Diego. Yeah. Yeah. And
awesome.
he's so adorable, so cute. Yes. And then I have this other family friend, and they do so well. Their three kids are very successful in motocross, and they're just amazing. So, anyways,
Oh, yeah. I would love to. Yes, please. That's the thing. Like, I feel like now this generation, ours in particular, we're starting to see the next generation come up, and Manny Pacquiao, right? Like that one alone.
right.
And then Joe Coy, even though his comedic style is on the interesting, so, a little floral language, but he made it to Netflix. That's big.
Yeah.
Just anyways. But yes, it's really exciting to see there's more out there getting success, and so I would love to retell that story. And so thank you so much, Elizabeth, again for being on the show. I'm gonna go ahead and click that button, and you know how that goes.
Thank
All right,
you.
guys.